Right, ladies and gents, so we get started with our Pilates session. And what we want to do before we begin is just make sure all the floor around your feet is clear, so there's nothing to slip or trip up with. And you're just going to start with your feet underneath your hips, your hands by your thighs, and really good posture to begin with. So as you breathe in, just breathe a little bit of length of your spine. Breathe out, relax your shoulders. And then we start with this little arch in our lower back. We're going to come in some pelvic tilts and bring some movement into our lower back. So what you're going to do is just think about, first of all, just gently tucking it under your tailbone to flatten your lower back, and then allowing your tailbone to lift, just to arch into your lower back. So your in-breath comes through your nose as your lower back arches, and your out-breath through your mouth as your tailbone tucks. Now from your ribs and above, we're trying to keep nice and still. Let the shoulders stay relaxed and down. And I want you to feel that as you tuck under with your tailbone, you're stretching through your lower back. Now just aware that your shoulders don't start to rock backwards and forwards. Just trying to isolate the lower back. Get plenty of movement in that lower back area, as well as start to bring in a connection into our tummy muscles. And then we settle midway between those 2 points, so your hip bone stays forward, your tailbone stays tucked, and then from here you can just breathe in to lift the shoulders, and then breathe out to draw them back and down. So we're looking for here a gentle stretch across the top of the shoulders. And we're also wanting to find the muscles in our mid-back that help to stabilise our shoulders. So you want to physically feel like you're pulling your shoulder blades down towards your back pockets. You're keeping the neck nice and long with the eye gaze forward. Feel the breath in helps the shoulders to lift, and the out breath to draw them back. And this time as we draw them back and down, we're going to maintain our set position. So this should put us in our perfect posture. We've got a connection between our ribs and hips, but your shoulders aren't being drawn forwards. You're going to keep the length of the spine with the chin tucked in, and just have a little sway forward. So the weight comes onto the balls of your feet, and then back into your heels. Now as you come forward, you want to make sure that your ribs don't come down towards the hips. Imagine you've got a pole right up through the back of your t-shirt. It's touching the crown back of your head and the base of your spine. And you're going to try to imagine that you're maintaining that length as you come forward, and you're not letting your head move away from that pole. You're going to breathe in as you sway forward, and then you're going to breathe out to sway back. Your feet staying flat, so the movement is just through the ankles. And with the shoulder blades drawn away from our ears, we're going to add in a double arm float. So arms to shoulder height, and then let your hands come back behind the hips as you sway. You're going to try and breathe out through the mouth, and then breathe in through your nose. If it feels comfortable, you can allow your heels to lift off the ground, and as you sway back, you can allow your toes to lift. Breathing out through the mouth to come forwards, shoulder blades still sat down to the back of the ribs, and a couple more each way. Gently maintaining that tuck under with the bottom, so there's no change of position through your spine, and then we rest in the centre. And that just gives you a little bit of awareness of the deep muscles we use to maintain our set position. So back in set position with the heels into the hips, rolling the shoulders down and drawing the abdominals in. Just a gentle breath in as we ease into our side bend. You're going to try and keep your ear in line with your shoulder. You're going to let your hands slide down towards the knee. And you're going to try and make sure that your weight's not moving from one foot to the other. So there's no sway of the hips. Imagine being set in concrete. Keep tucking under with the bottom to help keep the hips still. And then you can imagine that you're between 2 panes of glass. So you can only move directly from side to side. As you bend to your right, keep your left foot pressed to the floor. And as you bend to your left, keep your right foot pressed on the floor. Enter a little deeper, hands can come towards your head, shoulders are drawing back. And then you're taking your elbow down towards the hip. Breathing in as you ease down, and out with a lift. Again, you're still between your 2 panes of glass. Your hips are still set in concrete, so there's no sway through the hips. And then just trying to feel the stretch all the way down the side of the body. And then if you want to stretch a little further, just simply press one hand up to the ceiling and then bring it back to the head in the centre. Breathing in to extend and breathing out to pull back. Again, you're focusing on keeping the hips really centred and still. And just once more on each side. Aware that you pull your shoulder blades back and down into the ribs. And then from the centre, you can just simply bring both hands down. Let's bring our hands onto our hips. And we're going to work with foot pedals. Just going to tilt this slightly so you can see the feet more. There we go. Maybe not. That's a bit better. So you might not see my head, but you can see the feet. So we're going to work with our foot pedals. You're going to keep your fingers resting on your hip bones, so you've got a little bit of feedback. You're going to lift your right heel so it tracks in line with your toe, and keeping your tailbone tucked, which you're going to simply alternate the feet. Now as one knee pushes forward, the opposite heel lowers. And as you're working through your feet, you're trying to make sure your hips don't wiggle from side to side. So you want to feel like it's a direct up and down movement. No shift of weight from side to side. With your hands on your hips, you should feel the hips don't tip from side to side. And you're also gently drawing your belly button softly back towards the spine. You're breathing in through your nose as you lower your heel. And then breathing out as you rise. In to lower one heel. Out as you lift. Just letting that movement flow through the ankles. Keeping the shoulders nice and relaxed. And then we're going to add in the arms for a little bit of rotation. So the next time your right heel lifts, keep the right heel off the ground. Keep your tailbone tucked, arms to shoulder level, and draw your right arm back. Now both heels lift as you come into the centre, and then your right heel down as you turn to your left. So both heels lift. Don't do the few steps I'm doing, I'm just trying to keep my balance. Now we're going to think about the rotational movement through the spine. Your chin stay nodded in, so it keeps the back of the neck nice and long. You're breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Now try and be aware that your ribs don't flare. You're trying to keep the ribs just slightly down, so you've still got that connection between your ribs and your hips. And you're just feeling your elbows slide back across the rib. So we're getting the ability to do the ankles, do the knees, and do our hips. But we're also thinking about that stability to our core and trying to maintain a neutral spine. My balance is terrible today. And once more, before I embarrass myself completely. And then bring both feet and both arms down, releasing the shoulders. Let's go to our lunges and let's stay in a split lunge. So what we're going to do is start with our right leg, taking a long stride back. Now once we're here, the feet want to be hip width apart, so you've got a little bit of balance. Your tailbone wants to be tucked under, so your hip bones aren't pointing to the ground, they're pointing forwards. Now from here, just keep the hands on the hips and let your back knee lead to the ground and keep your front knee exactly where it is. So you don't want to feel like that front knee is shifted forwards. Then you're going to push out the heel to rise. So we're going to breathe in as we lower the knee. And I just want you to find a stretch through the front of your hip. Keep the weight down to that front heel. Shoulders are stacked above the hips. And again, just easing in and out of the hip flexor stretch. Just happen to be with a lunge. Now, your front knee might want to collapse in a little. So if you gently press the knees to the little toe, you've got the outer thigh muscles switching on, and that's going to help to stabilise the front knee at the same time. Then we're going to add in the arms. You're going to lift the arms to shoulder height. At the bottom, you're going to lift the arms a little higher. Back in line with your shoulders, and then rise to the top. The breath is in through your nose, out through the mouth to lift the arms. Breath into shoulder height, and breathe out when you're ready to rise. Now if you want to, as you lift the arms higher, you can lift the front heel. Heel down, and then rise. So again, using your in-breath, your out-breath, your in-breath, and then your out-breath to rise. Let's just do 2 more on this leg. And again, if you don't like the heel lift, you can just keep that front foot firmly on the floor. Still checking the front knee doesn't slide forward over your toes. And then as you rise this time, you can step your feet together. You can even give your legs a little shake. And then let's change legs. So it's going to be your left foot this time that takes that long step back. Still hip with the flat part with the feet and your tailbone tucked. Roll the shoulders back so you've got the ear, shoulder, hip in line. And then just a simple breath in to lower the back knee. And then breathing out to rise. So your weight shouldn't shift forward or backwards. Imagine you've got a string from the crown of your head up to the ceiling, and you're trying to keep that line with the head drawn upwards to the ceiling. And then you're pulling the head back up to the ceiling as you rise. And you're breathing in to bend the back knee, keeping the front knee exactly where it is. Gently pressing it out toward the little toe. So you switch on the outer thigh. Then we can add in the arms. So your hands come down by your thighs. Your ribs are gently drawn towards the hips. Your shoulders out rounding. Arms to shoulder height. And then push through the heel to rise. Breathing in through your nose. And then breathing out through the mouth. Now you can hold at the bottom of your lunge. Lift the arms a little higher if you want a deeper stretch. Back in line with the shoulders. And push up through the front heel. Keep your hips nice and square. And then again is the option to add in the heel raise. So if you want to add the heel raise and don't rush, when you're ready to lift the heels and the arms, back in line with the shoulder and up tall. Slow breath in. And breathe out strongly. Slow breath in. And breathe out to rise. And again, you're looking for that stretch. If it's hurting your knees for any reason, just stay with a small range of movement and just work on tucking under with the bottom, just to open the front of the hip. Almost trying to, if you can, get your back shin parallel to the ground if it feels comfortable through your knees. 2 more with or without the heel lift. So again, just start to create a little bit more stability through the ankle, through the knees, definitely through the hips. And then you can step your feet in. You might want to give them another little shake. So let's stay with a little bit of balance. Both feet firmly on the ground. You're going to bring your right leg back this time. So again, the feet still hip width apart. We're keeping both feet down. But we want to try and create a line from your ear all the way to your ankle. So if your head drops, you've lost that line. If your ribs drop, you've lost that line. Do you feel like your tailbone draws to the heel? Your belly button drawing to your back. Hands just behind your knee and your shoulders step back. Now chin nodded in and eye gaze fixed about a foot in front of your toe. Breathing when you're ready. And with the out breath, just lifting your right arm. In breath as you ease it down. And then the out breath as the left arm lifts. So all you're trying to do is keep the legs still as you move the arms first of all. You're sliding your shoulder blade in towards the spine. And if that knee is collapsing in, press it towards a little toe to get more connection down the outer thigh. If you're ready, you can turn your head. You're breathing out with a turn and a breath in to release. Squeeze this back leg so it's really, really straight. Now press down through the heel just before you lift the arm. And again, use the out breath, nice and strong on the way up. In breath as you ease down. Out breath with the lift. So go 1 more each side. It's so much harder than it looks, this one. And then when you finish your last one, stay here Lower your back knees so your shoulders come over your hips, and just lift the back leg and reach the arms forward. So it looks from here, you start here, you bend the back knee, and then just lifting and landed lightly. Now, as you rise, try not to look out the front leg. If it's too much lifting the leg, just keep the back foot on the floor and make the back leg straight, but let all your weight come into your front heel. 3 more, breathe into lower. Out as you push down through the heel. In on the way down, out on the way up. Last time. And then step in. Left buttock, you can give that a tick off your list today. And let's come to the right buttock. So it is the work in the standing leg, the work around the hips and the standing leg where you should feel it. We're going to take our left leg back. Front knee pressing out the little toe. So if this collapses in, these muscles here are engaging. They help to stabilise the knee. So as you press the knee out to be able to see your big toe inside of your knee, you know you've got everything switched on here. Once you're there again, a nice long back. Try not to let your shoulder blades separate. Roll them back, squeeze them in towards the spine, and nod the chin in. Breathe in when you're ready. Breathe out with a lift, and a breath in to release. So the first option is just to simply keep the head still. Now, see if you can just make your toes really light on your right foot. So you're not gripping the floor with your toes. Turn the head if you want to, or you can keep the head still. Keep pulling up that back knee so your back legs as straight as possible. Now see if you can bring a little bit more weight into your front foot. So you're looking at about 80–90% of the weight through your heel. And see if you can lift your toes ever so slightly off the ground. That makes sure you're pushing through your heel. Use the in-breath as you ease the arm down. Out-breath on the left. In through your nose. I have no balance today at all. My balance has definitely stayed in bed today. Let's do that once more with our left arm. Remember that second move? So from here, we're going to bend the back knee, shoulders come above the hips. And again, bring your weight forward, either back foot down or back leg lifts. We're going to go with 8. Breathe out, extend. Breath into lower. And I want you to work really slowly so it helps you keep control of the movement, and it's going to keep all the deeper muscles working to maintain your posture as you come forward and your balance as you lift. 2 more if you can. And your last one here. And then you can step your feet in. And move your bum if you need to. Right, so we're going to do the rest of today's session lying down. We're going to focus on some core work, some back work, and some shoulder stability. I'll give this a little tilt so you can see perfectly. That's better. Right, so we're going to come down onto our mats, and we're going to start on our backs. We're going to work with some heel slides, some seesaw arms, and then we're going to bring the movements together. So first of all, heel slides. It's really simple, but effective as always. Now, if you prefer, you can place your head on a cushion if you feel your head naturally tilts back. You're going to think about drawing the chin in, so you're trying to keep the back of your neck long. And then your peace fingers again, back on your hip bones. Now we want to start in a neutral spine. So just let your pelvis rock backwards and forwards. And you're trying to settle midway between those 2 points. So your hip bones point to the ceiling, rather than up towards the head or down towards the knees. Now your ribs soften down, so you've got that connection again between the ribs and the hips. Keeping your fingers resting lightly on your hip bones, you're just going to slide your right heel along the floor with an in-breath. And then with the out-breath, you bring your foot back into centre and very lightly on the ground. Now, without letting your hips rock, extend your left leg. Breathe in, slide the heel away, and then breathe out, come back into the centre. Now, I want you to be aware that you're not pushing through your left foot, you just slide your right heel away. So let's make the left foot really light. Resting on the eggshell as you bring the foot back in. Keeping your right foot light now, your left foot slides away. Then bring your focus to your hips. When you change from one foot to the other, you're trying to make sure the hips don't drop from side to side. So we've got that constant stillness, that constant stability to our hips. So look at our ribs gently softening down towards the hips. You're breathing in to hover the foot off the ground, and then breathing out to come back into centre. Let's do that once more on each leg. And then we're going to add in the arms. And then we start to focus more on our upper abdominals to keep the rib cage still. So let's just do 2 arms and keep the legs still for a second. You're going to bring your arms up above your shoulders. Now almost corkscrew your shoulder blades in towards your spine. Hold them down to the back of the ribs, nodding the chin, and think about your space here. Now we're going to scissor the arms. So your right arm goes overhead, your left hand down towards the hip, and then both arms back above your shoulders. You're changing direction, taking a breath in as you lower down, using the out breath as you lift. Now you may feel that when the arm goes back, the ribs want to lift and flare, but I want you to really focus on keeping the rib cage still as you move the arms. Then we're going to layer back in our legs. So this time as your right arm reaches back, your left foot slides away. You're going to pause on the extension and then slowly bring it back into centre. Again, breathing in to lengthen the arms and extend the leg. Breathing out to reset. So you've got a 2-directional pull this time. As your legs extend away, your lower back will want to lift away from the floor. So what you're trying to do is engage your tummy muscles and stop the lower back lifting as you extend the legs. Then as your arms reach back overhead, that's going to want to pull your ribs away from your hips. So what you're focusing on is that set position between your ribs and hips. And you're trying to notice any movement of the arms and legs. Breathing in to extend and breathing out to close. Go see them. Such a guard dog. Right, you go see them, I'll sit here. And you're going to do a couple more on each side. Again, working the really seamless transition from one side to the other. And a nice exercise to give you lots of awareness of the muscles you're using to keep the spine really, really still. Like, say, shush. Go on out. Go on. Sorry about that. And when you finish your last one, you can just simply hook in your knees. Give your knees a little roll. And then once you've rolled them in one direction, just let them roll around in the opposite direction. So we're going to stay on those lower abdominals. We're going to come into toe tap. So your knees are at 90 degrees, just above your hips. When you're here, you want to draw the belly down and feel your lower back gently touching the ground. Now roll the shoulders back, and with your arms straight, that should put you at the perfect 90 degrees for your knees and your hips. Then you can bring the hands down to the floor. Keep your left leg still. Breathe in, tap your right heel or your right toe, and then breathe out with a lift. Again, think about your lower back. As your leg moves forward, your lower back will want to lift off the floor. So you're trying to get that really strong core connection to stop the movement coming into your lower back. So you're stabilising your hips, your spine. You're keeping the shoulder blades pulled down to the back of the ribs. And you're breathing lots. So slow breath in as you ease down. And breathing out through the mouth with a lift. Now your option is to alternate the legs. As one leg lifts, one leg lowers. Again, as you cross in the middle. Now it might be a little bit harder to keep the back down. So if the back's lifting, go back to single legs, one then the other. And again, if you're still finding this really difficult to keep the back towards the floor, you can bring the feet down and work with single knee lifts. So if you start to fatigue in one position, just take a notch back. If you feel you're not fatiguing enough, try the next level. Couple more on each side. Nice and slow with the breath. Always breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your mouth. And with your last one, bring both knees in and hug them again. So I'm going to place the feet down. I'm going to come into some knee rolls. Love this exercise. But to get the most out of this exercise, we need to keep our rib cage still. Sometimes when we roll our knees, we let the back of the ribs and the shoulders lift. We're looking for the movement to come from here. So to make the movement come from here, we need to keep the rib cage as still as possible. So you can either keep the hands on the ribs to keep the ribs down, or if you're comfortable, you can take the arms wide. Now your feet, your knees and your thighs are super glued together. You're going to breathe in, roll your knees across the right, so your left foot lifts off the floor, and then you're bringing your knees back into the centre. And you're taking your knees over to the left, and using your out breath to bring them back into the centre. Try and ease your breath in slowly through your nose. Now strongly out through your mouth. And it's not about how far you can take your knees, it's about how far you can keep your ribs. How still you can keep your ribs. My brain and my balance is still in bed today. Now from here, you're getting that awareness. These muscles working through your waist, that rotation, but lots of stability through the upper body. If you want to work a little harder, you come back to tabletop with a soft imprint. And again, you're just simply rolling your knees to your right and then back into the centre. You're breathing in to ease the knees down and you're breathing out to bring them back into the middle. Now you can turn your head in the opposite direction to your legs just to bring some movement into your neck. But you want to keep your shoulder blade gently down to the back of the ribs the whole time. So you've got a nice strong base through your ribs, through your shoulders. And you want a little bit more. So what we're going to do this time, as we roll to our right, you're going to extend your left leg. And then come back into the centre, both knees at 90. And then to our left, with your right leg extending. Shoulders press firmly down. Breathing in through the nose to reach into your toes. And out through your mouth to pull back into the centre. And at any point, if you need a little less, so it feels uncomfortable, you can just simply bring your feet down and come back to the gentle knee rolls, just for the mobility part of the exercise. This just makes it a little bit harder, as you're probably feeling. Try and make sure the shins come back parallel to the ceiling into the middle. Breathing in as you reach across and out to come into centre. So let's do that once more on each side. And your last one towards the back of the room. And then from here, you can just simply hug the knees back in, tuck in your chin, and take a roll up when you're ready. And then we're going to roll back down, but we're going to roll back down slowly. So let's start with the first part of the exercise for our roll back. And this is just about getting a movement in our spine. Your feet want to be hip distance. Now, ideally, you want to be sat right up on your sit bones, but if you find this difficult and your back's arching, then a little cushion can help you get more upright and take a little bit of ease out of the hamstrings. Now from here, your body is in a stick, your head is the dot. Just checking that's right. Your head is the dot and your body is the stick. Keeping the eye position, we're just going to tuck under our tailbone to come into a chair. So it's a really subtle movement where you feel a stretch here and then you're going to lengthen back up into the spine. So there's no movement or rounding through your upper back, the shoulders are sat down, and you're just trying to almost point your hip bones up towards your rib cage. So you're gently tucking under with the bottom, little scoop into that J, and then pulling back up to your eye. You're breathing in to tuck the bottom under, and you're breathing out to rise. Now from your eye, tuck to make your J, then come into a C with your chin tucked in and your eye gaze forward. And then you're going to come forward and lengthen back up into your eye. So let's breathe. Breathe in, tuck under the tailbone. Allow the C shape. Breathe out, come forwards and re-lengthen your spine. So bad backs, you might want to stay here with this subtle movement and just enjoy that stretch of the spine and the movement through the spine. Let's do it once more. And then your option is to go into a roll back. So you can bring the arms in line with the shoulders. Same movement to begin with. Tailbone tucks to your J. You create your C, and then you see how deep you can roll down to the floor. Pause whenever you need to. Use the out breath, come forward, and lengthen back up into your eye. So again, here with your feet, they don't have to be flat. You can be resting on your heels. With the feet, it's whatever feels comfortable. Try and keep the eye gaze forward. Pause once you've got as deep as you comfortably can. And then breathe out, squeeze the ribs to the hips, and then keep breathing out. So we're going to add a little bit more arm movement, taking a breath in as you ease back. Now you might find you can get all the way down to the ground. Using the out breath wherever you get to rise back up into the start position. But this time, just lift your arms and turn your palms in. Your palms pressed down as you roll through the back. Nice big breath in through your nose. And then when you're ready, the out breath, pulling your ribs to your hips, pushing your fingers towards your toes, and then really lengthening all the way back up through the spine. And again, slowly breathing inwards. Long, slow, deep breath in. Take it to where you can. And then breathe out when you're ready to rise. Now a little bit harder, actually it's quite a lot harder, is to keep the arms here as you roll back. The arms want to stay just in front of your ears, so it makes your leverage a little bit longer, and there's a little bit more work to do as you rise back up. You need to make sure the chin comes in first, arms stay in front of the ears, and then you're rolling all the way back up onto your sit bones. Slowing the breath in. Big extension at the bottom if you're coming all the way down. And then the out breath as you're ready to rise. Remember, your arms can stay here. We're going to do 4 more, to whichever range of movement you feel comfortable-ish with. And again, it's not just about working your tummy muscles. It's about encouraging movement through the spine. A controlled movement that feels right for your body. Don't try and ever push it any further than what you feel that your body's comfortable with. Flexibility just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of patience. And then as you rise to the top this time, arms lift, your ribs lift, and then take a slump forward. You can tuck in your chin here, draw your belly through towards your back, and then your head hang down. Now from here, we're going to come onto our hands and our knees. So before you do, having a quick look, we're going to come into pinpoint arms. We're not going to work with the legs today, we're just going to focus on the stability of our shoulders. Now, once I've got you in this box position, our main focus is to keep a neutral spine, to keep the ears in line with the shoulders, and the shoulders drawn back. And when we start to move the arms, you're trying to keep the shoulders and the trunk of the body as still as possible. So it's a really slow, subtle movement. So when you're ready, if you'd like to come into your box position, Your knees are hip distance apart. Your hands are under your shoulders, and you will find that you naturally bring your weight back into your legs. So I'm going to let you bring your body weight forward, so your nose is just past your fingertips, and soften your elbows, let them relax, so you're not locking them out. Now just take a couple of tilts with your pelvis, and once you find that neutral position, that's what we're going to look to hold. Now, as we reach the arm forward, you're going to try and keep the opposite shoulder nice and still. You're just going to lift the arm up by the ear, the hand comes to the ground, and back into the centre. And again, like we did with our heel slides earlier, as we change from one side to the other, we're working hard to keep the shoulders still. So when we did the heel slides, we focused on not allowing the hips to rock as you change sides, and this time we're focusing on our shoulders. So you don't want to feel that as you reach the right arm forward, the shoulders collapse. Try and keep them level all the way through. But that constant feeling of pulling the shoulder blades to the back of the ribs. Watch the lower back, so you want to make sure you've still got length all the way into that lower back. And if you're finding this quite easy, I'd like you to bring a little bit more weight forward into your hands. And then try with the lengthen and the lift again. And you should feel your belly really starting to work. A little bite in the belly. Lots of breath. Breathing in, breathing out to extend, and keep breathing out of the lift. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Keep breathing out of the lift, and just watch the head doesn't drop. Now we're going to do that once more on each side. And then we're going to have a little release for our back. And you're just going to simply pull your hips back towards your heels. Let your chest come towards your thighs and just let your arms walk forward. Now you might need to take your knees a little bit wider to help get the hips back to the heels. So just adjust your feet as you need to. Walk right into the fingers and press your fingers into the ground, and then pull your hips right back towards the heels. And that should be quite a nice stretch. Now from here we're going to come into some planks. We're going to do a few different rounds, so keep adding on different options. So when you're ready, you're going to come forward again, and this time you're going to lower yourself all the way down to the ground. We're going to start with your elbows underneath the shoulders. Now again, sometimes when we tend to lift in a plank, we tend to use the upper back to hold ourselves here. So you can see what's quite wrong with that. We want to pull the shoulder blades down, so you've got lots of space between the ear and the shoulder. Then you're going to lift your hips up so they're in line with your shoulders, and tuck your tailbone under so it lengthens your lower back. Now at any point, if you feel this more in your back than in your belly, then take a rest, or just be aware that you've not allowed the back to arch. So it's that tuck under. So this is your first option, just holding this hover position, making sure the head is not dropping, heads up, so ears and shoulders in line. Now if you need to take a rest at any point, come down and join back in whenever you're ready. You can come back to this position. Or with your toes tucked, we're going to slide the right leg back, and then in. Then your left leg, slide back, and in. So almost coming back to that heel slide, but this time we're just sliding on our toes. Your shoulders are staying forward over your elbows. You're breathing out to push the foot back, and breathing in to release. Out through your mouth, and in through your nose. 2 more on each leg. And again, remember you can take a little rest if you need to take a rest. Just watch the head doesn't drop. Make sure you're staying really strong through your shoulders and long through your lower back. And then you can have a rest all the way down. Hands by the ribs. And as you breathe in, just a little lift of your breastbone. Squeeze the bottom so it supports your lower back. And then draw the shoulder blades back and down. A little bit more strength for the upper back now, mid-back, and that shoulder stability. So as we come down to the ground, we're going to bring the elbows out, so they're almost in line with your shoulders. Have a swivel. So the shoulders are drawn back, elbows are at 90 degrees, and your fingertips are pointing forwards. Now from here, we're going to lift one arm and the breastbone, and then we lower back down. We're aiming to keep our forearm parallel to the floor. We're trying to draw our tailbone towards our heels and keeping a neutral spine as you lift. We're breathing in to ease down and out with the lift. New exercise. Right, your option this time is to lift both arms up and down with the shoulders, keeping your elbows and forearms parallel to the floor and gently easing down. Now as you lift your upper body, you're trying to keep your legs and your bottom as relaxed as possible. Now, imagine your arms come out into a T position, so you're going to stretch out the arms, then you're going to pull them back to make a W, back out to your T, bend the elbows, and then lower down. So if you was looking from above, it looks like this. You lift your chest away from the floor, you extend the arms to a T, squeeze the elbows into a W, come back to your T, bend both elbows, and then lower down. So you've got the extension through the upper back, shoulder blades drawing down to the ribs, and now pulling the two pointed parts of your shoulder blades together, extending the arms long, bending to 90, and then lowering back down. And just 3 left. If you need to rest, it's quite a tough exercise, especially around that upper back area. So do feel free to have a rest at any point. Did you chase all the babies away? Good girl. So just aware that the bottom stays relaxed as possible. You're still gently drawing your belly button up towards your spine. And you're always keeping your eye gaze down towards the ground. And that's going to help to keep the length in your neck. Now, this time just stay at the top, and if you can, just go into 6 W's and then back out to your T's. So the chest lifts, the elbows squeeze in towards your ribs. You're trying to get the pointed parts, the bottom of your shoulder blades, almost touch your spine in the middle. We're breathing out with each lift. In as you ease down. And then here, bend the elbows back to 90 degrees and bring it all down gently. You might want to release your shoulders. So just a few shoulder rolls, just pulling them back. And then you can bring your hands in underneath your shoulders, push up onto all fours, and let's release the lower back this time. So knees under your hips, soft elbows, bring your weight slightly forward, and then when you're ready, just pull the belly up to the back. Chin tucking in, so you're looking towards your thighs. And then you're just allowing your back to arch as your tummy comes down towards the floor. And if you need more stretching, we've got Pure Stretch next at 10 o'clock. And all you need for the stretch class is just a band or a dressing gown belt, or maybe even just a piece of rope, something that just can help you develop your stretches a little bit more. And also today we've got a fit ball this afternoon. That's at 1 o'clock or 1:30, if you've not worked hard enough already. So let's tuck under our toes here. Take a nice big lift of the hips. Press your chest towards your thighs. Strengthen your arms right up to your shoulders. And then let's bend the knees, just gently walking your feet outwards. You're pressing your heel back towards the ground. Keeping the shoulders and the arms nice and strong. And once more on each leg. And then from here, all you need to do is bend both knees, take a nice big step in, heels under hips, head hanging to the floor, and belly pulled up towards the back. Look back towards your thighs and let the crown of your head hang. And in your own time, making sure the knees are soft, take a breath in, and you're going to use your out breath to gently restack your spine. And as you start to roll through your upper back, keep the chin tucked in, and then let the shoulders roll back, and let your head rise, and then grow really tall. Both hands lifting, reach up to the ceiling, and make your right arm longer than your left, then your left arm longer than your right, and again, just once more on each side, and then reach both arms up, and just simply pull the shoulders right down to the back of the ribs, and as you breathe in, you can lift the shoulders, and let them go, and once more, because that feels nice, that's like a little reward at the end, and give yourself a clap everybody.